Hi there, this is Solitude Ronin from Solitude Ronin Films, and welcome to another random review. And today's random review comes from 1948, and it's No Orchids for Miss Blandish, which is written, produced and directed by St. John L. Clowes, from James Hadley Chase's novel, which was a very salacious book, which then became a very successful play, and then they said it was unfilmable because it's nasty, gross, brutish, a dish for twisted minds. Well, count me in the twisted minds. This is another Powerhouse Indicator gem. Not that all my random reviews are Powerhouse Indicator, it's just coincidence. This is a wonderful film, but a slightly strange one. The author, James Hadley Chase, was English, and he decided to do a novel of like film noir, the kind of American pulp novels that were popular at the time. But he had no idea how to write it as far as the language and things like that. So allegedly he wrote it with a map of Kansas City, which is the book's it's set, and a book of American slang for the dialogue. And again, this is a very strange film because it is a film noir. It's an American gangster film, but it's written and directed by Englishmen. Most of the cast is English and British, not American. So it's this kind of surreal world that's supposed to be American, but the dialogue's not quite right. The way people speak it isn't quite right. So you have this weird kind of ambience to the film. The film itself is just, it's a wonderfully grim, nasty potboiler. You could argue there's nobody that's really that likeable in it, but sometimes you let that go when the film is just full of just such wonderful dialogue, and it's just so bleak and dark. The film is actually a bit lighter than the book. The plot is essentially about an heiress, Miss Blandish, who is due to be married to this stiff, square guy, but she gets orchids from a mystery admirer who turns out to be a psychopath from the Grissom gang, not the Grissom gang, the Grissom gang, Slim Grissom, who is a complete psychopath. The gang is run by Ma Grissom, not Ma Grissom, and she's just fantastic. And kind of lower members of the gang get this idea that Miss Blandish will be out and she'll be wearing really expensive diamonds. So she gets kidnapped by the gang. There's killings involved, and you have the authorities after trying to find her because she comes from money, and the gang in its splintered form trying to work out who's got the diamonds. Now, as I say, the book was even more nastier than the film. I think in the book, Miss Blandish is like tortured and raped, and the film doesn't go that far. But of course, she ends up kind of falling for Slim Grissom, who's maybe a psychopath, but he does send orchids. The cast is people that you probably wouldn't recognise, and I certainly didn't recognise a lot of them. So Miss Blandish is played by Lyndon Travers, who played her in the stage play. Jack LaRue is probably the most famous kind of face, apart from a young uncredited Sidney James, who plays a barman who eventually gets his eye put out. That's the kind of film it is. They put Sid James's eye out. Jack LaRue, Hugh McDermott, Lyndon Travers, Walter Grissom, Leslie Bradley. My Grissom is played by Lily Molnar. Again, there might be faces that you recognise, but certainly I don't recognise the names. As usual with Indicator, it's got a lovely booklet. It's just such a wonderful, strange, dark little film. And again, it is because of it's America, but it's not America. It's American gangsters, but they're not American gangsters. And it's this kind of... it's the distance between the hard-boiled dialogue that we think that these characters would speak and the hard-boiled dialogue that they actually speak. Yeah, I'm not going to say much more about the plot. You have to just watch it. It's one of those indicators that I would highly recommend picking up. I know I seem to say that about every single Indicator release. The extras are really good on this one. It had difficulty with the censors. It had difficulty with the American censors, so it was called Black Dice. It was re-released later in America under the title Black Dice. So you get the alternative American title sequence. You get an interview with Richard Gordon and Richard Nielsen, who the film's US distributor and one of the actors. You get a really good 42-minute interview with an ex-BBFC examiner, Richard Falcon, as he discusses the film's history with the censors, which is very informative. You have Soldier Soldier, which is a 50-minute World War II docudrama by the same director, St John L. Clowes, which I don't really know too much about, St John L. Clowes. The trailer, the alternate Black Dice trailer, and obviously the booklet. It's from 1948, 104 minutes long. You could argue it's a little convoluted, but the characters are just strange. The dialogue is just acidic, but there's just something quite wonderful about it. There is just an unreal, almost surreal kind of darkness going on about it, because again, it's a film about American gangsters, but they're not American gangsters. It's the British idea of American gangsters. And if you like your films cynical and dark and bleak, No Orchids for Miss Blandish is going to be right up your street. Highly recommend it. So thank you very much for watching this random review, which coincidentally just happens to be a Powerhouse Syndicate release. And hopefully we'll see you again for more random reviews. This is Sol Giron saying thank you very much for watching, and farewell.